Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. We will have a call to order, well, I'm sorry, I already did that. We'll have a roll call of the members by the superintendent, followed by the reading of the school board prayer by myself and a leading of the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Joshua Hebert, Vice President.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Meyer? Mrs. Barra? Here. Mrs. Boutin? Here. Mr. Hebert? Here. Mr. Washington? Here. Mrs. Hood?
Here.
Mrs. Arso? Here. Mrs. Dugas? Here. Madam President, you have a quorum?
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together as a community that values every child. As we go through all of the days of homecoming week, we ask for your protection over our students, staff, and all involved in the celebrations. Keep them safe each day. Lord, guide us to nurture an environment where every child feels valued and supported. May this week be filled with joy, school spirit, and memories that honor the gifts you have given our students. We place our AHS Mustangs in your hands and ask for your blessing on all the events from the parade to the pep rally, the football game, and the homecoming dance. Let each day be full of fun, safety, and community spirit. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two, agenda. A, adoption of the agenda. I need a motion. Moved by Ms. Dugas. Second by Mr. Washington. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 3, we're going to move to C, adopt resolution of sympathy for Mr. Charles Landry.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll read the resolution. Whereas we, the members of Assumption Parish School Board, have learned the untimely death of Mr. Charles Landry, an outstanding employee and citizen of Assumption Parish. Whereas by his devotion and loyalty, he had come to be recognized as a most valuable asset to the Assumption Parish family of public educators. And whereas Mr. Landry served Assumption Parish School Board for 21 years. And whereas his life was a record of service and devotion to children, community, and family, his loss will be shared by all who cherish the education of the young, especially the young of Assumption Parish. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Assumption Parish School Board deeply regrets the untimely loss of a true friend and servant to public education and offers his family our deepest sympathy in a time of grief. Be it further resolved that a copy of this expression of sympathy is presented to the family with our deepest condolences. Mr. Charles served Assumption Parish for 21 years. He worked in our maintenance department.
Of sympathy. If I could say just one word, my husband enjoyed this job tremendously. He enjoyed people, and he saw them every day, once a week at every school. He knew what was going on, and he made somebody laugh. It kind of helped bring along that day. So I just wanted you to know that he truly enjoyed this job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diane. We'll move on with the consent agenda.
Madam President, I also move that we accept the consent agenda as it is presented, providing there's no questions or comments regarding the items attached thereto.
You have a couple questions?
Yeah, we got this for information last meeting, but I had a couple of questions come up from constituents about a few of the policies. So on the expulsion policy, HJDE expulsion, we just had a question of the categorization of the expulsion, that the marijuana and cannabis requires them to be suspended once, but alcohol is it shows as an expulsion immediately. So I'm wondering why that was adjusted and why that's differentiated, where it's still things that kids are not supposed to have, and it's an individual. So why is the marijuana and cannabis given an extra step of they have to be suspended once before they go to expulsion, and other drugs and alcohol go straight to expulsion?
Yes,
Oh, I was asking, so in that policy, marijuana and cannabis, they have to be suspended once before the revision. They have to be suspended once before they go to expulsion hearing. But drugs and alcohol, they go straight to expulsion. So I was asking why.
You don't have to, Mr. Abrams.
Yeah.
It's a discretionary, it provides more discretion on behalf of the administration.
Okay.
So it's going to be still our policy to move forward as we have in the past with these disciplinary issues when
Yeah.
it relates to drugs or alcohol. Our position is going to be the same. Now, as far as the legislature's position, they changed it based upon that variation, saying that it would be a stepped process. If you remember when we talked a lot about this, it's not, it's more of a must rather than a may.
Yeah.
So that's where the change was reflected in this particular update for those staged with marijuana impact.
Okay, so that was the legislative language then. Okay.
It wasn't something that we came up independently, it was something that was changed with the legislature in this past session.
Okay, I guess I didn't get the citing on that correctly. Okay, but we can still enforce it in regular policy.
It's going to remain the same,
Remain enforced.
because
Okay.
again, that's something for the safety of the entire school, not
Yeah.
just one individual child.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you for clarifying. Okay.
and Ms. Abrams, to Council's point, everything that you see here is directly related to the laws changing. So this is not an Assumption Parish school system, myself or my team creating this. This is
Yeah.
directly. So I just want to.
Yeah, I know most of our policies are dictated by update, but I want to ask the questions just so we can get clarification on it. The other one is for the bullying policy, JCDAF, item G. It took out the line item in there to require staff to have bullying training. Is that still going to happen through Vector, and like this, they're still going to get that bullying training through the district that they get every year, or is that going away?
This was part of, the State Department did some researches, let teachers teach. So a bunch of different teachers from around the state came in and said, okay, teachers have like X amount of trainings that they have to do per year. So the concerns there that teachers are spending a lot of time going through all of these trainings. So now the trainings have been separated and also even reduced. So previously, some trainings teachers would do every year. Now it's once every 5 years. Some trainings teachers would do every year. Now they do not have to do it at all. If we would like to change something, or make something different than what the state is providing, we can do that. But as of right now, we're just following whatever the regulations are that's coming from the state.
Okay, I guess that's something we could take up in the policy committee that we're forming too. So okay, there's another line item in there that says that they have to provide a system. So I'm guessing we could still put that as part of the system of training. And then the last question was about the internet, item E, IFBGA. Same kind of thing. It took out the student specific training on internet safety. There's some other language in there that kind of says that we should, but it was taken out of there that the student internet safety, like online, like sex trafficking, chat rooms, that kind of stuff, it took it out of the policy. So is that something in curriculum that we were going to still be providing to the students, that that upfront safety training for like internet safety for younger kids or?
No, we're just following the recommendations from our legislators and the policies that we have in front of us as far as the state recommendation. Again, if we would like to, that's something that we can add, but we would have to do that independent, separate from what we have in front of us.
Okay.
And add it to the policy.
That's not included in any curriculum standards right now, is it?
No, sir.
Internet safety or anything
No,
like
sir.
that? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we can take those up and if
committee.
our leadership team wants to recommend that we, put something in place or not, that'll be part of the policy committee that we're forming. That way we can work through some of that. So if it's something the district would like to continue to do or put in place, please let us know when we start to do that work.
Yeah, I would just make sure that we don't put ourselves in a position that we are creating a law or policy or something that we have to supersede the state, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have a first by Mr. Lewis. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Urso. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda passes. For reports and recognition, we don't have anything under there, so we're going to move on to 5, policy and procedure. A, approve 2025-2026 pupil progression plan. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Aber, second by Ms. Boutin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. B, approve Assumption Parish School District Hearing Officer List. I need a motion. Moved by Ms. Dugas. Ms. Urso, second by Ms. Dugas. Sure. Any discussion, Ms. Barrow?
So by law, we're required to have hearing officers. So previously, I think before Act 1, the board would hear a lot of grievances and a lot of hearings from employees. After Act 1, we're required to have hearing officers. So people, almost like an independent committee to hear any grievances if there's any, as it relates to employment. So that's what it's about. Yep. And we just went over our list. Ms. Brandy has done a phenomenal job. So we realized that, hey, we might want to revisit this and make sure that everybody's on the list, is still on the list. So this is the list that was approved previously. So what we learned, some people are no longer, they do not want to serve anymore, but then some people say they are. So we had to make sure that we clean the list up and had the right people on it. So it's completely independent from anything that we do.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 6, budget. A, approve Simbly software subscription. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Aber, second by Mr. Lewis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, B, discussion of Lean Frog salary schedule proposal.
So just Lean Frog, we all are aware that we just completed, well, a while back, we completed a salary schedule study. And several board members and some of our employees had questions in addition to what was already answered previously. One question, well, as a result, I asked Ms. Chastity, who is kind of like the brains behind the work that you see in front of you, working with Lean Frog and helping us create this salary schedule. So one question that Mr. Rick, I know he's not here, but I'm gonna ask it as a result of the discussion I had with him on his behalf, is why are there so many fluctuations between employees? Because one employee, when you look at the salary schedule, may get a $2,000 raise, but another employee may get a $3,000 raise. And I know, I explained it like there's variations. There's a huge variation between the market and where people should be. That's why you see there's a lot of discrepancies. But that is the question that I would like to propose to you on behalf of Mr. Rick.
Happy to help with that. There? Yeah? Okay. I can't tell if you can hear me or not. So, yeah, so that's a great question. And this often comes up because in the past, you've probably done a lot of pay increases that are across the board. Everybody gets a 2% increase, everybody gets a $500 increase or something of that sort. And that's very common in Louisiana, and I see that a lot. But what has happened in a lot of districts like yours is that decisions kind of had to be discretionary when challenges came to hire, right? And so maybe one schedule got updated or or some additional funds were available for a position, so we included that in a salary schedule, as well as the state given increases over many years in flat dollar amounts. And so what that did, not everybody just added those flat dollar amounts. They came in and said, well, we still want to be competitive, and we want this difference between the teacher job and the assistant principal job and the principal job, right? That it's a promotion path, and we want a certain difference between those salaries. And so a lot of your peers were doing that, and that's a common thing to do. But if you're applying those flat dollar amounts to every single job, now you create a compression issue, right? And so jobs are not differentials between them because of the responsibility difference or even the days difference or that sort of thing. So I see it commonly that's the starting point, that everybody's got schedules that are pretty compressed, and that maybe some are more competitive than others, right? And so when we did the study, we found as much as you were 25% below the peer average, at the beginning of the schedule in some cases, than all of than the peer average. And then sometimes you were 2%, less than the peer average. And then sometimes you were actually, performing well and very competitive with the peer average, maybe even above the peer average. Not a lot of that, but a little bit of that. And so the recommendation that I brought to you guys wasn't just about that percentage difference, because a lot of people might say, well, just average all the difference that we are and give everybody that, right? Well, the difference of what we did with you guys is not only look at that percentage difference, but we also said, well, let's look at the structure and the long-term plan for Assumption Parish Schools. How do they get competitive now and stay competitive across the future? And so what we did was we redesigned your schedules, right? So we didn't just take the percent difference. We actually said, okay, what is the years of service that's appropriate for steps that's competitive with your peers? What are the number of steps that you have between one job and another? Is that fair? Do we have some that are only getting 3 pay increases and some getting 25 pay increases? So we redesigned all that first, and then we took your starting pay and made that adjustment. So when you rework the whole schedule and you take that increase that you need to do at the beginning, which varies. Sometimes it was a 2%, sometimes it was a 10%. All the people that were on the schedule have to be now realigned into that new schedule, if that makes sense, right? So some were really, doing well on the schedule when you built the new schedule, and so they'll keep doing well. But those that were much lower and not as competitive and not getting the same opportunity for their years of experience or their degrees or whatever, they may have had a more significant change coming to them because of that adjustment onto that schedule. So I know that was a lot, but it's kind of that kind of fold, right? It was a couple of different steps in there that were taken, and I want to make sure you can see that value that you're getting, not just giving people a raise for 1 year, which is what you've got here. You've got a long-term plan. So does that help?
And also, I just want to point out, it costs to fix the salary schedule first.
Okay.
And then anything on top of that is extra as well. So it costs to fix it, all of the variations and things that you discussed. But also, if you're given any increases, that's going to be a cost as well. So it's almost like now, the way it's set up, you don't have to worry about fixing your salary schedule anymore. So in the future, we just give a pay raise because your salary schedule is consistent. Right, you don't have to pay to fix it, basically.
Yeah,
So it's
and
almost
you're-
like it's a double-edged sword right now. We're doing two things in the one.
And the steps, everybody getting a step increase was also included in that total, right? So which is a normal reoccurring change, right? So you had a whole lot of other things that were affected. But yeah, the first year of making an adjustment is obviously going to cost the most initially. And then it's all going to kind of, even out a little bit because you've got a consistency in your schedule and you can predict it better, right? What's going to be, so.
Could you explain the indexes? And I have an idea of how y'all did them. I think there's different than what we have in St. Mary.
Yeah.
So I was a little confused, but I'm not sure the board understands how
How the indexes are used?
indexes are used.
Okay, sure, absolutely. So, and I can pull it up if I need to, if I misspeak. I'm trying to remember exactly what yours turned out to be. For one, I'll just start and say, let me walk you through it and let me tell you why you might saw a different answer for yours. So what the index is taking your daily rates of your teacher pay and applying an index to that and then multiplying it times the number of days, okay? So it's basically saying we know that the daily rate of a teacher, right, is kind of a good foundation. Then you move from that to more experience as an assistant principal and more as a principal, and more as maybe a supervisor, or, you know, that's the building blocks. And the good thing about that is, as that teacher salary changes, now all those jobs kind of stay in order. Like I was talking about, compression happens if you don't do that, right? And then you don't have to make decisions about what kind of increase should we give to our assistant principals or our principals. It's applied when you give it, you know, an increase to your teachers. So that answers maybe about how it works a little bit. And the reason, truthfully, why yours is different is, and I'd have to look to make sure that I remember all your foundation. You guys are given credit for admin experience, the amount of years that you have been a assistant principal or principal.
And I don't even think it's like that. And that's where I got confused, because our indexes are quite a bit higher in St. Mary. And when I saw the index here, I'm like, oh, that's low. But they don't apply the daily rate.
But I believe, well, I don't know what they ended up
Yeah,
adopting.
they
I
don't,
can't speak to what
yeah,
they
they don't
adopted.
apply the daily rate. And that's
But-
where the difference was.
Yeah, well, and they may have a whole different schedule, so their starting point could be different. So let me say that. I don't recall off the top of my head because I didn't pull theirs out recently. But usually when you're using a daily rate, the whole point is so you don't get that compression, right?
That's it, because a lot of employees will take the promotion, but then their daily rate isn't as
gone down.
much
Yes.
as what it
Yeah,
is as a
so-
teacher.
So that's the value of using that. And then also I'm pretty sure, and I can pull it to be sure, but you're also taking into account someone's admin experience, not just their total experience as a teacher. So you're valuing the fact that they've spent 5 years as an assistant principal or 5 years as principal. A lot don't do that. You know, a lot will just say it's your total years of experience, multiply times this index, and that's the pay that you get, if that makes sense. So it's not really built other than the value of the index is all that. Does that make sense? And so
Right.
yours is using it as a foundation to be sure you don't create compression, but it's not the end all of yours because you've got years of experience that you're getting credit for as an admin. So. And everybody doesn't get the same schedule, you know, when I do the work. For one, you also may not be able to afford, you know, what we can pay in St. Mary or Lafourche or wherever, you know.
No, we came
So-
out pretty close, I believe.
Yeah, we came pretty close. Yeah, so it is a stretch, and that's the thing, there's always the thing for me with school systems is, you know, I wish every school system could pay every teacher and every employee and every admin, you know, more than they can, so there is always that limit. So I take that into account. I mean, I do, like I would, if I could just apply everything and make it as much as I could, I would, right? But I do pull it down to what's affordable, you know, for the district as well, so.
Thank you.
I had a question about non-teacher professionals, so paraprofessionals.
Okay.
In the past, our paraprofessionals that then got certified as a teacher got a ratio, like a 3-to-1 ratio of years, where we've had paraprofessionals that have been in the district for years and years, like 15, 20 years. They started on the first year teacher pay schedule. So can you explain how those paraprofessionals would get compensated with this schedule, where if, say, they served 15 years as a para and then they got certified as a teacher and then started on teacher, are we going to give them the credit for the time served as a ratio, or would they still start as a first year teacher on step one?
Yeah, honestly, that's not in the schedule at all. There's nothing addressing that, but I think that's a great kind of policy to try to create. You know, what is your hiring? And that's the difference. That's what is your hiring procedure, right? Which is what that is. What are you hiring them as a teacher? Right now, I was just looking at some of your people, and I could see the years that you have a lot of people who served as a para for many years, and there's a few years as teacher. And I could see right now it appears that they get a step associated with their years of teaching experience, according to that. So I think it's a great point that you may want to give maybe some sort of ratio, some sort of credit, you know, for those years. But there's nothing in the schedule that's designed around that concept at this point. But I would say some administrative guidelines for hiring would be what I would call that.
Is that an adjustment you could provide guidance to us on?
I'm sorry?
Is that an adjustment to the recommendation that you could provide guidance to us on?
I don't know that I really have any data to provide you on that. I'm happy to work with you guys further on some recommendations on some hiring guidelines that you might want to use where you need them. So happy to do that. Still, you know, they know they can call me, and I'm happy to give some recommendations personally about that.
Yeah, and especially now that we have, you know, so many people in our, at least so many people in our system that are now trying to get certified, and then they're even going on to get master's degrees that have been pairs with us, and people coming into the system without degrees and are grow your own and getting certified, especially if they've served the district for so long in that role and have been an essential part of the district. We want to make sure they get credit for the time that they're with us and they're not starting on a first year teacher salary. So if we can take that up and make sure,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's currently, right now, we have something in policy, so it's a policy adjustment. Just something to consider when we do talk about this. A first-year teacher or a teacher who have been teaching for 5 years, but a different job, right, teaching, and then a paraprofessional who's been working for 5 years comes in, the role as a teacher will be equal in pay to a teacher who has been teaching for 5 years and a para has not been teaching for 5 years. So when we talk about the work experience, you're paying a 5-year teacher who has 5 years of experience of teaching the same you will be paying a paraprofessional who does not have any years of teaching and have 5 years of being a paraprofessional. So we'll have those discussions when we talk about this, but that's something to consider, that are you valuing a teacher who has been teaching in a role of a teacher for 5 years compared to a paraprofessional who has just been hired in a district and doing paraprofessional work for 5 years? Or should we pay them the same? That's a question that we would have to answer out. So just something to think about.
Or a relevant ratio.
Yeah,
of
or something.
service.
Yeah, I think it's right now it's 3-to-1 or 2-to-1 that we give, because we did take that in consideration, but it's in policy.
Yeah, so is that happen, because I think we have 2 pairs that have contacted us that said whenever they started actually teaching, they started on step 1. And they did, so if we can do a review to make sure that everything is accurate. If we're not, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not aware.
Yeah.
Could you send that to my office, please?
Yeah.
Mr. B, at one time, I know when we had a teacher who had a master's and stuff, and if we wanted them to move into assistant principal, they would have to take a cut in pay. Did we fix that with this new schedule?
Yes, ma'am, and that's the indexes that we're talking about. So if you're moving from, you are correct. So if you're moving from a teacher, no matter what year you are, once you move into an assistant principal, you should see a bump, an increase in pay, because we're looking at years of service, not just, hey, you start in year 1 as an assistant principal. You are correct. We did fix
We had
that.
a lot of teachers who we wanted them to move up, but they wouldn't because they were going to have to take a cut in pay to be an assistant principal.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
I'm glad
ma'am.
we're looking at that.
Yes, ma'am. This salary schedule fixes that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Moving on to 7, facilities and grounds. A, approve transition of students from the Belrose Elementary School site to the Belrose Middle School site for the 2026-2027 school year. I need a motion.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Lewis and second by Mr. Washington. Can we have some discussion on this?
Yeah, so, Madam President, I'd asked the superintendent along with your guidance that for this action item, pretty much for the same reason for what we saw with the Labadeville Middle and Labadeville Primary Schools over there. There's a lot of congestion over at the Belrose Primary School. I remember one staff over there, they were like the kids that's dropped off by their parents. They had to wait on 11 in order to get all the buses through first. And to have the cars coming in when you got the buses and to make the loop to turn around, it's really bad. It was a tough position to be in right there. So this is one of the reasons why. So the congestion really is an issue over there. Another thing I saw too was and this is not too often, but when you had a funeral at the First Israel Church, Jack, that's the church north of us, right, north of Belrose Primary School. They had a lot of people over at the churches were parking over at the school grounds and stuff. So that made it kind of difficult for the buses to get in and out of there, because one of the churches, they stayed real late like that, you know. So this is an issue that I cited and stuff like that. But the main thing is the congestion. So I think if we go that route right now and talking with the superintendent, I don't think we have that much stuff to retrofit the Belrose Middle School to accommodate the primary schools kids, right? Just saying for retrofitting the Belrose Middle School.
It'd be similar work, but, you know, to your point, we're just moving kids over, the facilities.
Yeah.
Facilities in good shape, so it would be just moving the kids there with some adjustments, because we do have to make some adjustments with the cafeteria, and just making sure that, you know, we transition over the Head Start and early childhood piece. But those are two of your major renovations that we would have to do, same what we're doing in Labradorville Middle.
And I think the gymnasium is a big asset for the kids over there in 5th and 6th grade, so that'll help out a lot too.
Some parents also say the same thing, that we should have been, the kids should have been on to the other school
Yeah.
from the beginning. So some of them like that idea of moving them from the primary school over to the middle school.
Yeah.
I think my only hesitation with casting a vote today would be, you know, when we talked about Labradorville, we got some information first and some like rough numbers of what the spend would be and things before we actually voted. This is the first time we discussed that on the board floor. I mean, I would like, that's my hesitation. I would like some information on logistics, you know, some of the information we got last time, logistics, rough cost on the difference in cost between what we had to do between school sites. That's my only hesitation, Ms. Honoré, with casting a vote before we, you know, have some information
I
on it.
guess I'm wondering why CSRS didn't recommend this when they recommended Labradorville Middle.
I believe with looking over CSRS recommendation, it was just a recommendation on buildings. I think once we get into those buildings and we see how the consolidation factor works in that aspect, we can, as a board, we can make those decisions that this may not fit like we thought it did.
Yeah.
And the traffic, huge, just like it was, you know, in Labradorville, of course.
I agree, it's further off the highway.
Right, the facility and the grounds it's, I think, safety-wise, I think you can do something there a lot easier than you can. So I do know that we haven't moved forward with the security projects or fixing of anything at Belrose Primary School. So I really think that the Belrose Middle School versus the Belrose Primary School, it's kind of like a what and what. I did go back and I looked at CSRS, and you kind of look at the issues. All of our schools have issues.
Yes.
All of our schools have issues, but looking at that, we need to realize real time, construction-wise, and we need to make sure that we're not putting monies, just like, you know, Labradorville Primary School versus Labradorville Middle School. We need to not put our funding into a school that we're no longer going to use as the main school. So I'm in agreement with Mr. Aber as far as maybe we could have gotten some information beforehand, but I do understand putting it on the agenda and the construction timeline behind it. Because if we're going to do this and we need to move schools and we need to fix those things, we're going to be at a standstill at Belrose Primary School for a while if we come back with certain information. And that's just speaking for myself. So I understand what Mr. Aber is saying for sure, but I just want the clarification to be that when we voted upon the consolidation, it was a recommendation of the buildings. I think as a board, we get to choose by law. We get to kind of work around, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
You get into the school, especially with a consolidation.
Right.
You know, the
Well,
kids-
yeah.
Right.
The expenses, we had some people make comments on the expenses of, it's like building a house. It's really not. I mean, you can see it at the high school. We found things as we went that, hey, this fell apart, this was rotting, and we had to make adjustments as you go because we're renovating old buildings. We're not building a house. You know, the comparison of that is kind of ridiculous. But I agree. I mean, I'm hesitant to, without information and without input from our maintenance department and things like that on, you know, just some rough, like we got last time. And if it's the right move, great. But I'm just hesitant just without the information.
And that's understandable, but here's the thing, if we're gonna start making a move to retrofit this school or get it in for next year, we got to start as soon as possible. And that's the one thing that I can tell you, just like we had the information, just like the superintendent said, we kind of looked at, I did anyway, and that was the one big issue I think that we'd have is probably getting a cafeteria in order. But as far as everything else, now, getting back to your point, Bambi, about, single point of entry, if we delay that anymore, for us, putting the kids over at the Belrose Middle School, then we already have something, out there with engineering to start a single point of entry. So we don't want to start that at Belrose when eventually, at the primary school rather, and we eventually end up moving over to the middle school. So now you're talking about a lot of dollars spent for something that we're not going to use. So that's my point.
And I do, appreciate, the constituents knowing and beforehand too, because I think transparency is key. But we also need to allow our people in it, our superintendent, our core team, our maintenance department, and everybody to actually tell us what's working and what's not. And as a board, we can take a recommendation, as such. That's just,
Madam President, did you say CSRS recommended us staying in Belrose primary?
That was a recommendation. If you go back and you read it, they kind of recommended that these schools be used and these schools not be used.
I can't understand how this company came in and we paid them all that money, and they knew that all these kids were gonna be moving in that campus, and we were gonna have all that traffic, and that was what they would recommend. And now we're in a pickle that we gotta start moving kids and spending more money. So,
I mean, it may be unforeseen that the
Understand both
church is kind of an unforeseen thing. I don't think that was cited in the study, so.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The community's on board? I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
I have spoken to constituents in the area as well.
Very on board. I'm telling you, you have to go on campus and look and see just how the bus is coming through, and they got to make the loop over there by the cafeteria. And some of the folks that come and drop their kids off, they're not going all the way around, they're cutting in between the cars right there. It's a hazard, y'all, I'm telling you.
that's why I was on the day that we discussed it, when we were at the school. I think we were there touring the school.
Yes.
And there was no parking area for the teachers, they were parked
Yes.
at the church parking lot.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I think it's very congested area.
Same
Yeah.
thing, It's the same thing.
In the gym, things like that, things we can utilize and make better. So,
Yeah.
Unless they got some dissenting opinion, go on and take a roll call vote.
Well, I wouldn't say I dissent. I mean, if you said community's on board, you cited some of the issues. We moved fairly quickly with Libertyville at the next meeting when we had the information to discuss. And that's, like I said, that's really my only hesitation, just no information to go off of other than, this discussion, so.
So, Mr. Mike, if I have a motion and I have a second, do we just do a roll call vote, or do we have to?
You can,
Okay, just wanted to double check I'm doing it correctly. Okay, so I have a first by Mr. Lewis and a second by Mr. Washington. All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. B, authorize the superintendent to rescind previous task order for security and renovations project at Belrose Elementary School and approve task order for security and renovations project at Belrose Middle School. I need a motion.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Lewis,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Abear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. C, approve change order number 4A for the Assumption High School Building A exterior wall rehabilitation project. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Barris, second by Ms. Orso. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to A, comments and/or announcements.
I just want to say congratulations. We have Miss Christie in the audience. She will be your new accounts payable for Assumption Parish School System.
Congratulations.
Miss Christie?
Congratulations, Ms. Christie. But Napoleonville is going to miss you very much. As a parent that have two kids that really give you some trouble sometime, we're going to really miss you. So
I'd like to make a comment that Assumption High I've had so many compliments.
Yes,
It
yes.
really turned out to be a great job. We really appreciate everything that was done.
Thank you, Ms. Ott. I have one other, go ahead, Ms. Honorable.
No, I was just echoing what she said. My wife has a nephew, he retired from the military, he went to Assumption, and now he's a tugboat captain somewhere up and down on the East Coast over there. He just happened to pass by the school last week when he was visiting his mom that stays right there in Bertrandville. And he had to make a second take. He went back through the school and take a look at it, and he echoed the same compliment that you heard, and probably same thing you said, Dr. B, how the school really look. It's really beautiful, really beautiful. Yeah.
Just something on that same thing. We've had people the last few weeks, and an educator in the parish that's really incredible kind of asked us the question with a heavy heart, saying, why are we spending the money on our old buildings and not building new schools? And we kind of had to cry a little bit and say, we just can't do that, but we are doing incredible things. We're trying to do great things with the buildings we do have and renovate and refurbish. And the high school has been a great project, and we're going to do everything we can to keep what we have and make it the best that we can in the fact that we can't construct new, multi-million-dollar school buildings for a high, it was sad for a long-term educator to come and say, why can't we do this? And to have to cry with her and say, I'm so sorry. We're doing the best that we can, but what we are doing is progressive, and it's, forward thinking, and we're making sure that we're using what we can. So thank you all very much, everybody that had input in all of that. So the high school looks great.
I just have one comment. I met with Dr. Crochet and Ms. Tina. Just as a follow-up, we have our 7th and 8th graders on campus with the high school students, and I could not say enough and could not be prouder of those two administrators and the way that those teachers and those students are performing right now. So all is well. We do have some things that we currently can fix. Because it was like a better if, hey, now that we're in the school, let's do a pulse check. There's some things that we're going to have to work on for next year because we can't change it in the middle of the school year. And then also some minor construction things that we need to do. But I just want to let the community know and the board know that the two administrations, as well as the faculty and the students, are doing a phenomenal job. So kudos to them. And I want to say congratulations to them working together and making sure that we include our kids in everything. I'm talking about 7th through 12th grade, because they all are Mustangs. We're not separating 7th graders and 8th graders and saying, you can't participate in this. They should participate in yearbook. They should participate in homecoming. They should participate in their own events. Now, we do have to pay close attention to the age groups because we want to make sure we give our 7th and 8th graders the social support, the emotional support, and the development support that they need so they could grow as young men and women. And that might look a little bit different than an 18-year-old, how we support them. So when we talk about separation and providing support, we have to make sure it's specialized for that age group and for those grades. So again, kudos to Ms. Tina, kudos to Dr. Crochet, our team here as well, and those kids and those parents. So I'm just proud to say that everything is going well. We're not perfect, but we're moving to that direction. So thank you.
I want to add on, as far as the high school looking, I was able to go and I asked Mr. Justin if I could go in and see the wall art for the cafeteria. I'm sure most of you guys had saw it on Facebook possibly. It is gorgeous, beautiful. It is truly a work of art, but to see it in real time and in person is definitely something different. I do have to give kudos to Mr. Corey Crochet and his team. I had community members kind of reach out to me and basically said that like the dismissal at the high school is flawless from their eyes, of course, because I know we could all, do a little something, and I think that team definitely needs to be recommended for that. Yes, the whole shebang, like the whole thing, I think is working well and collaboration, right? And I just want to say, yes, it's AHS Homecoming Week. Thursday, we have a parade and a pep rally. Huge thank you to everybody involved for making it happen, from the teachers to the students to the parents to the AHS alumni, everybody. Friday, let's go cheer on our Mustangs at the home football game. Let's see what we're doing, homecoming court. Saturday, homecoming dance. Let's have fun, stay safe. Come out and show your Mustang pride. That's what we do.
We got to win one.
Yeah, come on, we got this. We got this.
We gonna win.
No, I hate to say it might be hard.
We got this.
My babies.
I believe. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Aber. Meeting adjourned.